So based on what I just told you, I would like you to take a moment now and think about what you would expect the responses of these various targets to be in response to activation of either the parasympathetic nervous system or the sympathetic nervous system. In other words, is the parasympathetic nervous system going to make the heart rate go up or down? Is it going to make breathing go up or down? So on. Okay, so all of your answers should be, it's going to cause it to increase or decrease. So please take a moment now, hit pause, think about what you think, just based on what I've told you, based on kind of these nicknames, rest and digest, fight or flight, what you would expect these responses to be like. Okay, so hopefully you went through and came up with some predictions. Let's see how well you did. Okay, so looking at heart rate, you should expect, if you're resting and digesting, for your heart rate to go down. So the parasympathetic nervous system is going to decrease heart rate, while the sympathetic nervous system is going to increase heart rate. So, if you are interested in running away from a lion, for instance, you're going to want to increase your heart rate so you can get blood circulating to your tissues, especially to your skeletal muscles, so that you have enough oxygen to power your fight or flight. I guess you can decide whether you want to fight the lion or run away from it. Okay, moving on, breathing. Parasympathetic nervous system is going to decrease breathing or inhibit breathing. Sympathetic nervous system is going to activate breathing. And one thing I want to mention right here is this actually is not like your breathing rate. It's going to be the dilation of your airways, right? So the sympathetic nervous system is going to allow your airways to open up to let more air into your body. Parasympathetic nervous system is going to constrict your airways, okay? And again, same thinking, right? If you're running away from a lion or if you decide to fight it, you're going to need a lot of oxygen to your tissues. So you want to bring that air in, okay? All right, moving on, digestion. Parasympathetic, you would expect the parasympathetic nervous system to activate digestion. I don't think that's too confusing since the parasympathetic nervous system is nicknamed the rest and digest system. So yeah, when you are not being very active, your body is going to focus on digesting. Parasympathetic nervous system is going to activate that. Sympathetic nervous system is going to suppress digestion, right? Again, thinking about our scenario of running away from a lion, you don't want to be bothering with digesting your food at that time. You want to sort of direct your resources elsewhere in your body, okay? Second to last one, urination. Parasympathetic nervous system is going to encourage urination or release of urine. Sympathetic nervous system is going to suppress urination. So again, if you're running away from the lion, you don't want to be taking the time to pee, okay? Finally, fat breakdown. Oh, I forgot to mention this, the fat breakdown is not affected by the parasympathetic nervous system, but the sympathetic nervous system is going to increase fat breakdown. Again, if you are running away from a lion, okay, I can't seem to get away from that. If you're running away from a lion, you're going to want to free up glucose, right? You're going to want to break down your fat, free up glucose into your bloodstream so that you can use that energy to power your skeletal muscles and also all of these other processes that are going to be happening when you are running away or fighting the lion, okay? All right, so this table from your book kind of formalizes this and summarizes it a little bit better. So it summarizes the effects of your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous systems on various targets. in the body. I don't want you to memorize all of these effects, but you should be able to just kind of have a sense for them. You should know, okay, this is, you would want your heart rate to increase, for instance, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, okay? A couple things that I want to point out about this. First of all, I'm sure you've already noticed that the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system have opposite effects on target organs, right? So for example, looking at the pupil of the eye, the sympathetic nervous system is going to make your eye pupil dilate, while the parasympathetic nervous system is going to make your pupils constrict, okay? What do we call this type of control? I'll give you a moment to think about that. What do we call it when we have two opposing systems working on a target? We call that antagonistic control. So the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are an example of antagonistic control on these kinds of targets, on certain targets, okay? Another thing I want to point out is notice that we have a variety of different receptors that are being acted on by the same like hormones, neurohormones. So what is the result of that? If we have different receptors at different targets, but responding to the same signaling molecule, what do we expect from the different targets? We expect different responses. So hopefully you figured that out. Yeah, so I mean, just kind of looking at this example, we have alpha adrenergic receptors on the arterioles, and that's going to cause the arterioles to constrict. We have beta-2 adrenergic receptors on the veins, and that's going to cause the veins to dilate. And that would be in response to the same signaling molecule, okay? Okay, this is just some more examples of the effects of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems on various targets. One thing that I want to point out here is that some of the targets are only controlled by one branch of the autonomic nervous system, right? So you can see that the adrenal medulla is only affected by the sympathetic nervous system, the kidney, the adipose tissue, lymphoid tissue. Those are all only affected by the sympathetic nervous system and not by the parasympathetic nervous system. So thinking back again to like the first lecture of the class, what do you call this type of control? Think about it, you just have one output signal, basically, acting on the target. Okay, so it should be tonic control. All right. Okay, one last thing that I want to say about in this introductory video is that at any given moment, both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches are active. Okay, so it's not the case that, oh, I'm just sitting and reading right now, my parasympathetic nervous system is completely on and my sympathetic nervous system is completely shut down. That's not the case, okay? We're always somewhere in between. You know, we never just have just the parasympathetic nervous system active or just the sympathetic nervous system active. Okay, we're always somewhere in between. So that's how antagonistic control works. But what I want to point out is what's happening at our target organs is being affected by the relative activation of those two systems, right? So heart rate, for instance, let's say your sympathetic nervous system is like 60% active and your parasympathetic nervous system is at 40%, your heart rate's going to be a little bit higher, right? And then if we reverse that so that your parasympathetic is 60% and your sympathetic is 40%, then your heart rate will be a little bit lower. So there's always this kind of push-pull between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So they're going to pull your target organs in one direction or the other, depending on the relative activation of the two systems.